Hello, and welcome to my new podcast. I'm Dr. Camille. I'm a double board certified physician, and I'm specializing in functional medicine, especially bioidentical hormones and gut health. So, today I'm just going to spend some time and introduce myself, get you to know who I am and why I love what I do. Well, about 20 years ago, I went to medical school, and like most medical school students, I knew really nothing about health or the medical field. A lot of memorizing, 15-hour days studying. So some people have compared it to like a fire hose. We're just kind of drinking in as much as we possibly can. And we're learning a lot, but we're not really synthesizing many things, right? It's a lot of you're telling me and I'm memorizing and I'm regurgitating. After medical school, I had a military scholarship and I went to the Navy. That's a funny story, actually. Um, when I got accepted to medical school, a lot of the military branches were kind of courting me, offering me military scholarships, and I wasn't real sure about joining the military. I wasn't real excited about it, and this was back in 2000. And my mom said to me, "It's not like we've been at war for a long time because really the U.S. had done pretty well with not having major wars for a long time. And the military wasn't really deploying a ton at that time." Well, that first year when I started medical school in July of 2001, I was only 2 months later that while sitting in my classroom on the East Coast, we witnessed the Twin Towers go down and the military change forever. In fact, the Navy came to my medical school graduation, swore me in, and I like to say took me with them. But I went into the US Navy right after graduating from medical school. I was a medical officer for them. And is traditional for the Navy is that after completing your first year of residency, which is known as internship, but most people complete their internship as part of their whole residency. But the reason why the internship is so important is that doctors take three different licensing exams during, after medical school in order to be fully certified as a physician where you can actually prescribe things. So I did my internship at the U.S. Naval Hospital in San Diego and took my third step of my exams there, became fully licensed as a physician. And then they send you operationally with the troops. And given that 9/11 had just happened, the troops were deploying like crazy. I was immediately stationed to a large ship. A lot of people think this looks like a carrier, but it's a little smaller than a carrier and has a totally different mission than a carrier. And I instantly was attached to the ship and deployed within weeks of finishing my internship. And so I did two wartime deployments during that time, and eventually ended up paying off my time to the military and going into emergency medicine. So I had to redo all of my training. I did a 3-year residency, and it was basically after this time. So I'd been a physician for about 7 years. Really, yeah, really about 8 years. When I started kind of questioning things, and that kind of led me into functional medicine. So there was a couple of things that happened. I would say the first is that um, you know, being an ER doctor is great for learning patterns, and you interact with a lot of people from a lot of walks of life. So every single day in the ER, I'm meeting roughly 25 patients a day, going through a medical history. And so if you're paying attention, you might start to notice patterns like in the community. I started thinking like, gosh, everyone's on certain meds or, those kinds of things. And one thing that really stood out was that a lot of people had belly pain. And I used to kind of jokingly come home and tell my husband, belly pain rules the roost. And what I meant by that was that, I could have 8 beds and 5 of them were people with belly pain. And more than that was that a lot of it was actually repeat customers. A lot of it was severe acid reflux. And the treatment I knew was APIs, basically antacids. And these people would be on antacids. And I'd say, well, do you have a GI doctor? Yes, I have a GI doctor. Well, are you taking these? Okay, well, double them. And they'd come back a week later still in severe pain. And that kind of made me question, what are we missing? Our treatment isn't really working. The things that I've been taught to do, the things that the GI doctors have been taught to do, isn't solving the issue. And that was kind of one of the areas that I recall really questioning. Along that vein, I remember being in medical school, and IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, was kind of a new diagnosis. And I remember even then going, that doesn't really make sense. I mean, something is causing people's bowels to be irritable. And even back then, I assumed it had to do something with what they were eating. So there was some questioning early on in my beginning of my career. The other thing that happened right around the same time was I had my first child. And because, I was in the military, I kind of delayed childbearing. So I was a little bit older when I had my first baby. And I like to say my health just completely imploded at that point. I really, over about a year to 2 years, hit rock bottom. I was, well, first, I do have migraine, but my migraines have been really well controlled up until having my baby. And right after having my baby, I just had chronic, daily, nonstop migraine for 4 years straight. Yes, that is true. For 4 years, I never had one day of relief, if you can believe that. The other thing that happened was that I was struggling with infertility. So I'd conceived my first child very easy and quickly. I conceived again soon after that, and that ended in a miscarriage. And then I struggled with infertility. So I was going through infertility. I was having chronic migraine. I was in a really stressful first job. And I just started kind of going downhill. I mean, I had zero energy. I remember for a year that the first thought that went through my head every single morning when I woke up was, I am so exhausted. And it didn't matter. I could sleep 10, 12 hours and I would still just be so exhausted. So that unrefreshing sleep, exhaustion, and then the mood changes started, right? I started struggling with depression, even then anxiety, which are not things that I've really ever dealt with. And I was having interpersonal relationships with my spouse because I was just really unhappy. I really wasn't feeling well. I had no energy. I was struggling with infertility. I was seeing fertility doctors. I was having migraine. I couldn't lose any weight. So it was just really a mess. And it actually culminated after several years of this. I had a panic attack while in an office at work, and ended up quitting after that, quitting my job. So, and I said, something is going on with my hormones and I need to figure out what it is, because clearly mainstream medicine isn't really offering me what I need. And somehow in that milieu right around that time, I was seeing a fertility doctor who is a OBGYN. He is on staff at a major medical training facility. So clearly, by traditional medicine standpoint, he is specializing in hormones. And he actually said to me one point after checking my hormones, he said to me, "You have no testosterone, but you can fix that after you have your baby." And proceeded to pump me full of all kinds of hormones and medications that um, ultimately did produce a child, but that child is still suffering with ramifications and health issues from that prenatal course. Whereas, my other two children are perfectly healthy. And so all of that led me to actually seek out a functional medicine practitioner who really looked at my hormones, looked at them more functionally, and got that treated, and really changed my life. I mean, it was life, nothing short of life. I mean, you could see I was really in a bad place, and I went to got my energy back, got another job. I'm working in the ER again. I'm not depressed. I'm not anxious. I'm back having a great relationship with my spouse. I'm losing weight. And oh yeah, I conceived naturally at the age of 40 and had a very healthy, normal pregnancy. So that was the next thing that really was like, okay, this is life changing, and mainstream medicine's not talking about it. And so it was really at that point that I started really studying and learning, initially about bioidentical hormones at that time, and then it just, it's like it's a snowball, because oh, bioidentical hormones, well, what's causing that? Well, there's this HPA axis, and oh, maybe there's a thyroid issue, and let me study about that. And then, well, actually, estrogen metabolism is affected by the gut, so let me learn about that. So it was just, and then ultimately I decided I want to go headlong into functional medicine. I got board certified through the A4M, and I haven't looked back. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell of what got me going with functional medicine and why I love bioidentical hormones so much. And so now I am still kind of building my clinic. I still work in the ER. Actually, I think really good. I still see what goes on in the mainstream medicine, what they're missing, how they're treating things. And it's really sad, because I feel like a lot of patients aren't getting the treatment they need. And, people are suffering. And that's what I really love about functional medicine. It's not only is it really more true medicine, because what has happened to mainstream medicine is that big pharma really controls the knowledge in the medical schools. And, like I was saying earlier, when you get started, you're drinking through a fire hose. So you're just drinking it all in. You don't really um, have time to synthesize it. And furthermore, you're not going to question this or that, because they're the ones teaching you everything. So you're just believing everything they're teaching you. And what it took me a while to realize, but I was seeing it more and more as I was continuing to work in the ER, is that, I could diagnose a lot of things, but my treatment always came down to the prescription pad. And, even that wouldn't be so bad if the treatment worked. But what I was seeing, like for instance, with the abdominal pain and the acid reflux, is the treatment's not working. So not only is the treatment not working and people are still suffering, but you're not getting to the root cause. And so that's what I really love about functional medicine, is that, you've probably heard this. It's kind of a buzzword, root cause. What does that mean? Well, it means, for instance, I had a woman come to me recently. She said, "Oh, I have so many issues." She's like, "I'm, 42. I'm having constant yeast infections. I have abdominal pain, bloating, acid reflux. I had to get my gallbladder removed. I can't lose weight. I have insomnia, um, all these things. So I have all these issues." And I said, "Well, the good thing is that actually you might have a lot of symptoms, but you actually don't have a lot of issues. You really have like one or maybe two issues." And when I look at all her symptoms, I can see that most of them are related to a dysbiosis in the gut, which is also affecting the hormones. And then, really, any woman over the age of 37 is in perimenopause and is suffering from symptoms related to hormone deficiency, which happens to all women. And so, really, if we fix the gut, meaning we kill off any bad flora, we boost good flora, things like that, then we're going to fix the bloating, we're going to fix the acid reflux. Even weight gain is really, or inability to lose weight is really highly associated with inflammation in the gut and dysbiosis. So you're going to lose weight. And then, if we add in some bioidentical hormones, it's going to affect your mood, your sleep, your energy. And so, really, and she said she's so tired of running from doctor to doctor and copays everywhere, that, um, really getting to the root cause can cure all these things. And so, this is someone who was trying the mainstream medicine model, but it wasn't working, right? She's like, I have to keep taking antibiotics. I have to keep taking antifungals, and it's not working because they're not getting to the root cause. And so that's what the root cause is. It's really what is driving these symptoms. And really, when you dive into it, most of the symptoms are related to the same cause. For instance, I had a man I treated, late 30s. Again, significant GI issues, severe acid reflux, keeping him awake at night, but also really severe anxiety, sleep disturbances, depression, weight gain, brain fog, all these things. But all these things can be affected by the gut, right? So he was having overgrowth of many different bugs, including H. pylori, that was driving the bloating and the acid reflux. Those were treated with herbs and other things. Serotonin, which we need to help us with mood, to protect against depression and anxiety, and even help with sleep. 80% of serotonin is made in the gut. So if you don't have a healthy gut, you're not making that serotonin. So once we fix the gut, guess what? All those other symptoms that it seemed like he had, or problems, went away. And so that's what I love is, medicine has become so compartmentalized, right? So you have a migraine, you see the neurologist. You have stomach issues, you see GI. You have maybe excessive bleeding, you see an OBGYN. But all of those things are often related to one thing. And so all these people are kind of just putting band-aids, trying to like, can we make you feel a little bit better? But they're not really addressing the issue. And so the other thing about functional medicine is it's truly healing medicine, because if we come in and we treat that dysbiosis and we treat the gut issues, you're going to heal. You are going to be well, and you won't need all those medications. Whereas the current model we have is a band-aid medicine. It's kind of like I'm putting all these band-aids trying to make you feel better. You don't feel better. And also, because you're not actually addressing the issue, you get more and more and more issues. And so you end up with this laundry list of medical problems and pills, when had you just really affected the root cause at the beginning, you would be well. And so it is just really a joy. It's really fun and rewarding to help people with this, because when you take a person who feels like they have no hope, they have all these, maybe they have or symptoms that their doctor keeps telling them your labs look normal. A person knows, they feel it, they know something is off, they don't feel well, or they're going doctor to doctor and accumulating pills that aren't helping. When you take that person and identify the root cause and heal them, you've given them a new lease on life, you've transformed them, and that is truly rewarding. I'm Dr. Camille. Join me next time on my new podcast.